And I hear this from my Republican friends, my independent friends, my Democrat friends. Everybody's frustrated by sort of this slow decline in Idaho politics and this rise of extremist factions.
Democratic Representative Todd Achilles has been pondering this problem for at least the last few years, a widening divide in our two-party system, leaving a lot of Idahoans lost in the middle. And I should say former state representative Todd Achilles, and I should also say former Democratic Representative Todd Achilles, because as of yesterday, he stepped down from the state legislature in order to run for a U.S. Senate seat as an independent. Todd told us today he's been a lot of things in his life: a tank commander in the Army. He's worked in the tech industry for a number of years. He's been a teacher. And like most Idahoans, he says he's been a registered Republican and a registered Democrat at some point, but not completely comfortable in either party. He was appointed to fill Boise's District 16 Democratic seat in February of 2024 and won that seat outright that November, getting 60% of the votes in a district that is only 25% Democratic, which told him a lot about what most Idahoans want.
You know what I heard most when I was going door to door for the general election is, you're a better Republican than that other person on the ballot. And this informed a lot of my policy and where we're going now. Is folks are just looking for somebody that's just in the middle, that's pragmatic, that's common sense. And the two-party system is just causing so much dysfunction, particularly at the national level, that we've got just debts, division, deficits, all of these things that are going on, and we've got to break through that. We've got to do something different. As the parties go farther and farther into the corners, there's just this huge group of the electorate in the middle that says, just give me a sane, common sense, pragmatic alternative. And that's exactly, that's who I am, and that's what I want to try and do for Idahoans.
Achilles believes
I think we both believe we should have been more clear yesterday that our vote is not one of support for a bill, but just a commitment to the democratic process.
That's what he was doing during his tenure in the State House, by speaking and voting against several bills.
And it changed the initiative process when the Idaho Supreme Court has ruled unambiguously that the initiative process is a fundamental right for Idaho voters.
I think Idahoans, number one, we're independent at heart. Number two, we respect people's decisions and let folks live the way the lives they want to. And we respect the rule of law. There were several bills going through the legislature that were just fundamentally unconstitutional, and they wouldn't stand they wouldn't stand up in the courts.
Number one, this just clearly violates the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Right? Immigration law is federal law, and states don't get to overwrite that.
I raised my hand a lot on that. I raised my hand on bills like the effort to try and overturn gay marriage, House Joint Memorial 1.
This is just a letter. It has no force of law. The courts are going to toss it in the trash. It really accomplishes nothing. It's a waste of time and money.
That was just fundamentally counter to Idaho values. And so it died. And that was one of my wins of the session. I will say, I think I was far more successful in this second session than I was in my first one, because I spent more time talking to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. And listen, we may disagree on 70% of the stuff, but there's that 30 where we're on the same page and just figuring out where you align and when you align. Because of my party affiliation in the legislature, I was consciously not speaking with colleagues, Republican colleagues on the House floor, because people would be filming us talking. And they would use that against my Republican colleagues, that they were talking to a Democrat. It's incredibly counterproductive. And that's not, that's not how we solve problems.
Why not run for an office in Idaho as opposed to try to go for the Senate?
We just think the opportunity is now that the incumbent in there doesn't represent Idaho, and particularly when it comes to the economic issues. So you've got one of the oldest and one of the wealthiest people in the Senate representing Idaho when economic equality is off the charts. If you're a millennial or Gen Z in this state, you don't have a chance. The American dream is completely out of reach. All of these things that we've built to create a more equitable economy, they're out the door, and that's a function of just sustained laws passed in Congress, and we've just chipped away at the economic opportunity in this country. And we've got to reverse that, or we're already at these really dangerous levels of economic inequality.
When somebody is in the voting booth and they go down the list and they see Republican, Democrat, Independent, how many times do people look at that Independent and go, outlier? Yeah, I don't really know much about them. I don't know enough. They could go any direction.
Yeah.
Are you worried about that?
If I do a good job, people are going to go down that ballot and they're going to say, oh, thank God, an independent.
Well, independents are the second highest category voters in Idaho, just shy of a third of all registered voters in the state. While independents and third-party voters are the fastest growing group in the country, up from 23% to 32% in just 25 years. Idaho's Democratic Party was disappointed by his decision, Achilles said, but they have different priorities and objectives at this point. They are currently taking applicants to fill Achilles' vacant seat. 3 candidates must be submitted to Governor Brad Little by Sunday, July 6th, and the governor then will select Achilles' replacement. Achilles says he will run against sitting Idaho Republican Senator Jim Risch, who's been in Washington since 2009, and Risch will be 83 years old in 2026.